The headlines speak of recovery, of strength, of record highs. But behind the polished screens and political speeches, something far more troubling is unfolding, a slow, silent breakdown of the American economic engine. Debt is exploding, prices are rising, confidence is evaporating, families are struggling, and the question that once seemed unthinkable is now being whispered in every corner of the nation. Is the US economy crashing? This isn't fear-mongering, it's reality, backed by data, driven by decades of ignored warning signs, and accelerated by global shocks we can no longer outrun. This isn't one single event, it's a web of interconnected crises, all converging at once: inflation, inequality, deindustrialization, ecological reckoning, and a fragile financial system teetering on edge. But this story isn't just about charts and trends. It's about people, about a nation at a crossroads, about the future of a global superpower whose foundations are showing deep, widening cracks. In this video, we're going to unpack the 10 critical pressure points pushing the US economy toward collapse, and ask the questions no one else dares to. Is this the beginning of the end or the start of something new? And most importantly, where do you stand in all of this? Let's begin. Colossal debt, a burden that keeps growing. The US economy is crashing, and one of the heaviest weights dragging it down is debt. Trillions of dollars in national debt loom like a dark cloud over Washington. Every second, the national debt ticks upward, not down. It's more than a number. It's a symbol of systemic imbalance. But here's what's truly alarming. This debt isn't funding long-term investment. It's plugging holes. It's paying interest. It's propping up a fragile illusion of stability. And as interest rates climb, the cost of servicing that debt grows exponentially. More money is spent on interest payments than on education, infrastructure, or innovation. We're watching the slow-motion explosion of a debt bomb. The federal government isn't alone. States, corporations, and households are all strapped. We're not just spending future money. We're spending money we haven't even imagined earning yet. The question isn't if debt will spark a crisis. The question is when. Is America addicted to borrowing, or has debt become its default business model? History teaches us that empires collapse when their debts become unmanageable. Rome, Spain, Britain. Is America next? The US economy is crashing, and debt is accelerating the fall. Runaway inflation, disappearing purchasing power. You've probably felt it at the grocery store, at the gas pump, or in your rent. Prices are up, way up. But here's the thing. It's not just about inflation rising. It's about your purchasing power disappearing. Inflation eats silently. What cost $1 now costs $1.25. Your salary didn't go up by 25%, did it? That's the problem. Americans are working more and affording less. Real wages, adjusted for inflation, have stagnated. The middle class is being hollowed out, paycheck by paycheck. And while official inflation stats suggest it's cooling, they often exclude the essentials: food, housing, energy. The numbers lie, but the lived experience doesn't. People feel poorer because they are. The Federal Reserve hikes interest rates to cool inflation, but that brings its own pain: higher credit card debt, rising mortgage rates, slower hiring. It's a cruel balancing act where ordinary people always pay the price. The US economy is crashing, not because of a sudden collapse, but because it's being bled out by inflation, slowly, relentlessly. It's not a storm, it's a drought. And in that drought, families are withering. This isn't just economics, it's survival. And the real question is, how long can the American people hold on while their dollars burn? Masked unemployment, the crisis behind the statistics. On paper, the job market looks fine. Unemployment is low. Headlines celebrate job creation. But take a closer look, and the cracks appear. Underemployment, gig jobs, and part-time roles mask a much darker reality. Millions are working 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. College graduates flip burgers. Skilled workers drive for rideshare apps. This isn't progress. It's economic desperation in disguise. The real unemployment rate, including discouraged workers and the underemployed, is much higher than reported. The Great Resignation was romanticized, but many left because they were burned out or couldn't afford childcare. Others were replaced by automation or simply gave up. Meanwhile, layoffs are returning. Tech giants, retailers, and financial institutions are trimming their workforce. Behind every job lost is a family in crisis. The U.S. economy is crashing quietly through a labor force that's exhausted, unstable, and undervalued. Job security is a luxury, health benefits, a dream, retirement, a fantasy. We're not building a future, we're patching holes. If work no longer guarantees dignity, what happens to the American ideal? This isn't just about employment, it's about the soul of a society, and that soul is growing restless. Social divide, the myth of the American dream. Once upon a time, the American dream was about hard work, home ownership, and upward mobility. But today, that dream feels more like a bedtime story, comforting, nostalgic, and painfully out of reach. Wealth inequality is exploding. The top 1% owns more than the bottom 90% combined. Billionaires multiply while millions live paycheck to paycheck. Entire communities are priced out of their own neighborhoods. And upward mobility? It's stalled. A child born poor in America is likely to stay poor. This isn't just unfair, it's dangerous. A society divided by wealth is a society divided in spirit. Social unrest brews in the gaps between rich and poor. Mistrust festers. Democracy itself erodes. The U.S. economy is crashing not only because of numbers, but because of values. When access to opportunity is dictated by zip code, race, or inheritance, we're not facing a financial crisis. We're facing a moral one. Innovation, productivity, and growth can't thrive in a fractured society. Inequality isn't just a side effect. It's a system malfunction. And if the dream dies, what's left? The real crisis isn't about GDP, it's about justice. And justice right now is bankrupt. Ecological transition. Opportunity or economic dead end. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's an economic one. The shift toward a green economy should be a revolution. But in America, it's turning into a battlefield of fear, confusion, and missed opportunity. As fossil fuels decline, entire industries face extinction. Jobs in oil, gas, coal, gone. But where are the green jobs to replace them? The transition is happening, but unevenly. Some regions thrive, others collapse. Entire towns are left behind. Then there's infrastructure. America's outdated power grid can't handle the future. Public transit is lagging. Clean energy investments are dwarfed by military spending. The country isn't transitioning, it's hesitating. The U.S. economy is crashing because it's stuck between the old world and the new, clinging to the past while fearing the future. The ecological transition could spark a renaissance, if embraced. But delay means decay. We face a stark choice: lead the green revolution or be crushed by it. Innovation could be the cure, but hesitation is already the disease. In this tipping point moment, the economy and ecology are no longer separate battles, they're one. Household debt, when the dream becomes a debt. For decades, the American dream was tied to ownership, homes, cars, college degrees. But today, that dream comes with chains: credit card balances, student loans, and medical bills. We don't own our lives, we owe for them. The average American household is buried in debt, and as interest rates rise, so does the pain. A mortgage once affordable now becomes suffocating. A car loan stretches for 7 years. A college degree? A lifetime of repayment. Debt isn't just financial, it's psychological. It breeds anxiety, stress, and hopelessness. It forces families to delay having children, buying homes, or retiring. It punishes people for trying to get ahead. The U.S. economy is crashing because its foundation, the consumer, is crumbling. We've built an economy on spending without saving, borrowing without limits. And now the bill is due. In a society where healthcare can bankrupt you, where education shackles you, and where credit is a lifeline, debt isn't a personal failure, it's a systemic trap. We need to ask, what kind of dream demands lifelong debt to access basic dignity? Industrial decline, the loss of American competitiveness. America was once the factory of the world, a titan of steel, cars, and invention. But over the decades, the machines fell silent. Jobs moved overseas, supply chains stretched thin, and domestic production crumbled. Deindustrialization hit hard. Rust Belt towns turned into ghost towns. Generations of skilled laborers were left behind. Now, even basic essentials, medicine, semiconductors, rare earths, are imported. The US economy is crashing because it forgot how to build. Instead of investing in infrastructure, manufacturing, and training, it bet on finance, speculation, and outsourcing. The result? Fragility, dependency, vulnerability. Global shocks, like pandemics or wars, expose how unprepared America is. We can't even manufacture enough microchips for our own cars and phones. Reviving American industry isn't just nostalgia, it's necessity. National security, economic resilience, and middle-class stability depend on it. The question is, can we rebuild, or have we lost too much? If America is to rise again, it must reclaim its role as a maker, not just a buyer. The specter of 2008. Is the next financial crisis about to explode? 2008 was supposed to be a wake-up call, a collapse triggered by greed, deregulation, and toxic financial products. But instead of reform, we got bailouts. Instead of change, we got amnesia. Fast forward, and the same risks are back, bigger and bolder. Corporate debt is skyrocketing. Derivatives markets remain opaque. Banks are too big to fail. Again. The housing market is overheated, and speculative bubbles from tech to crypto are everywhere. The US economy is crashing not from a new threat, but from old lessons ignored. The system wasn't repaired, it was patched, and the patch is peeling. Financial markets are increasingly disconnected from reality. Wall Street surges while Main Street struggles. Confidence is high, but stability is an illusion. The next crash may not come from mortgages. It may come from cyber attacks, AI-driven trading, or climate-triggered insurance collapses. But one thing is certain, the system is brittle. One spark is all it takes. Will 2025 be the year history repeats itself? Or will it be the year we finally break the cycle? 2025 scenarios, collapse or renaissance. We stand at a crossroads. The US economy is crashing, but is it beyond saving? Not necessarily. Crisis and rebirth often go hand in hand. It's not too late to change course. Scenario 1. Collapse. Debt spirals. Inflation accelerates. Social unrest explodes. Trust in institutions vanishes. This is the path of inaction, denial, and delay. Scenario 2. Renaissance. A reinvestment in people, infrastructure, sustainability, and equity. Rebuilding manufacturing. Reforming finance. Reviving community. This path is hard, but it's not impossible. The choice lies not with politicians alone, but with us, with educators, entrepreneurs, workers, and voters. Every crisis is a portal, to decline or to transformation. 2025 could be remembered as the year everything fell apart, or the year America began again. History is not written in stone. It's written by those who show up when it matters. So, which future will we fight for? And you, what are you going to do? You've heard the signs, you've seen the facts. The US economy is crashing, not in a single moment, but through 1,000 small failures. But here's the truth. We are not powerless. This is not a call to panic. It's a call to awareness, to responsibility, to action. Get informed, vote smarter, support local economies, learn skills that matter, demand transparency, speak up, organize, innovate. We are the economy, and if we change, it must change with us. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for leaders to fix what we've accepted for too long. The American dream can be rebuilt, but not by watching, only by doing. So ask yourself, what role will you play? Because the story isn't over, the end is not written, and the crash is not the final chapter, unless we let it be.